Indeed, you are the bestower. These two short verses in the Quran provide us with some significant parallels to the mystical traditions that we've just seen in the Talmud. In both cases, Solomon is tested. The second item, the binding and unleashing of Ashmedia, is absent in these two verses, but we'll talk about that later. A body is placed on his throne in the Quran, and Ashmedia assumes the throne in the Talmud. Solomon humbly returns in repentance in the Quran and wanders as a beggar. Once again, the common theme of humility. Solomon asks for forgiveness for sins, and in the Talmud, he spent 3 years wandering for his 3 sins. Solomon regains the kingdom then in both accounts. And regarding that missing parallel of binding demons, we don't have to look far in the Quran. A couple of verses later in the same surah, Solomon had devils, and they were his builders and divers bound together in shackles. Why is it that so many times when we look at the Quran, supposedly the word of Allah, we actually see the words of prior tradition and legend instead? Muhammad's critics were right. It's no wonder they called him an ear. I would suggest another good description would be a sponge. Muhammad the sponge absorbed all kinds of legendary material, and it seems his revelations consisted of a demon in a cave squeezing them back out of him. Speaking of Muhammad's revelations, let's figure out how they worked. He would wrap himself in a garment and move his lips quickly with inspiration and sweat on a cold day. He would even hear the ringing of a bell and snort like a camel. All this to receive revelations that were already well known, in this case from prior Jewish tradition.
So basically, Islam critique, like I said over and over again, Islam critique commits something called commits a fallacy known as genetic fallacy, which is the genetic fallacy is attacking the source of the claim instead of the claim itself. So Islam critique is already right off the bat is committing a fallacious argument known as the genetic fallacy when he accuses the Quran of copying off these Jewish apocryphal or pseudegraphical works or the Jewish Talmud. So right off the bat, this is a fallacy. Colin is a Christian apologist, or so it seems, so it appears. Because of this, Colin is inconsistent because the New Testament quotes from those same Jewish apocryphal sources regarding Solomon. So it's amazing that Colin is a Christian apologist and he's accusing the Quran of what the New Testament itself does, which is quoting these Jewish apocryphal sources or pseudegraphical sources. We see an example of this in Hebrews chapter 1, verse 3. The author of Hebrews chapter 1, verse 3 clearly refers to the wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 25 to 26. What is the wisdom of Solomon? Well, if you look at the Old Testament canon that we have today, the wisdom of Solomon is not found in the Old Testament canon. This book is not found in the Old Testament canon we have today. It's a Jewish apocryphal or pseudegraphical work, not found, or it's a Jewish apocryphal work not found in today's Old Testament canon, or not found in today's Bible. For more on the New Testament writings, copying and quoting from Old Testament apocryphal sources or Jewish apocryphal or pseudegraphical sources, see the Forgotten Scriptures, the selection and rejection of early religious writings by Lee Martin MacDonald, page 135, where he quotes from, he shows that the New Testament authors like Paul, etc., were quoting from these Jewish apocryphal sources that you can't find in the Old Testament canon today. Now, the defense Christian apologists give for the authors of the New Testament quoting from these Jewish or Old Testament apocryphal or pseudegraphical works is that they do contain some truth in them, and the New Testament authors are quoting true stories and sayings found in them. There's nothing unbelievable about these Jewish apocryphal or Old Testament apocryphal sources having truth and having true stories and sayings in them. There's nothing unbelievable about that. Same logic applies to the Quran. The author of the Quran, who is said to be Allah or God in the Quran chapter 13 verse 1, etc., could be repeating true stories found in these Old Testament or New Testament apocryphal sources. These apocryphal or these pseudegraphical Jewish or Old Testament sources could contain true stories and sayings in them, as even New Testament and Christian scholars admit that these Old Testament and New Testament apocryphal sources do contain true stories or sayings in them. The problem with this specific claim that Colin or Islam Critique brings up is that the Babylonian Talmud actually postdates the Quran. In other words, it came after the Quran was revealed, or after the Quran was finished being written down. Thus, the author of the Quran couldn't have copied off a source that came after the Quran. The Babylonian Talmud came after the Quran. According to the book, a popular dictionary of Judaism, copyright 1995, page 174, the Babylonian Talmud was written in the late 6th century and not recognized as authority until the 11th century. The Quran was finished in 632 or 631 CE. Thus, the Babylonian Talmud actually came at least 40 to 60 years after the Quran was finished, or after the Quran was finished as a book. Thus, the author of the Quran could not have copied off a source that came after the Quran or postdates the completion of the Quran. Moreover, the Prophet then Islam Critique criticizes the Prophet Muhammad's experiences on receiving revelation. Well, if you read the Bible, the Prophet Muhammad's experience with revelations match what other people in the Bible experience with revelations from God or Jesus. See Acts chapter 9, verse 1 through 18, Galatians 1, Daniel chapter 8, verse 15 through 26, matches what the Prophet Muhammad saw. Angel Gabriel, or having revelations by, Angel Gabriel, and having visions, etc. What the Prophet Muhammad saw in the cave matches, or how Prophet Muhammad received revelations matches, how Paul got revelations and Daniel got revelations in New Testament and Old Testament, etc. The conclusion here is that the New Testament quotes from these Old Testament apocryphal sources as containing true stories and truth in them. Same with the Quran. Both the Quran and New Testament quote from these Old Testament, or repeat stories found in the Old Testament apocryphal books, because they could have true stories in them. There could be truth in the Old Testament and New Testament apocryphal sources, and the Quran is confirming that these are true stories. There are true stories found in these Old Testament and New Testament apocryphal sources. Even Jewish and Christian scholars admit that there's true stories found in these non-canonical Old Testament and New Testament pseudepigraphical or apocryphal books. Even they admit it. There's nothing unbelievable about this. In this specific case, the source Colin is referring to is copied source. As a copied source, the Babylonian Talmud actually came after the Quran was finished. Thus, it couldn't have copied off that